All we see is sky for forever. We say... Okay, welcome to Jackson Cloud. I'm Jamin.
I'm Olivia.
Casey's deaf, so...
that was a little loud, but not as loud as the music he was blaring before we started recording.
No, I like musicals. Musicals,
I do too.
good.
You've been watching way too many movies, Jamin.
really
No, I haven't.
Too many.
No, I haven't. You can never watch too many movies is a message that I will
Do you guys
have
want to watch
to...
The Nightmare Before Christmas?
What?
Nah.
She's in a spooky mood. As you can tell from Olivia's hair,
It's spooky season.
she's already gone... I was going to say gangrenous? Is that... No. What's it when your foot falls off?
Gangrene?
Yeah. Gangrenous. Oh, that was the word. But what I meant to say was ecto-cooler. Ghostbuster. Look at her. She's Ghostbusters. For now, we hear that if you put Olivia under a black light, she becomes a different color, which is
Or it
all the
might
more
just glow. I'm
confusing.
not really sure. I gotta get a black light, test
You
it out.
haven't tried your own hair yet.
I did this an hour ago. Like,
Oh, this is fresh hair right
yes, very fresh.
here. Okay, well, let's hop back into Genesis and get into some psychological warfare. Because
You gotta work on that evil laugh.
yeah, well, that's... Do you know? Okay, so I knew Casey... When that would have been 2006 when we met, right?
Yeah.
Casey used to laugh like a normal person, like, and then one day he just started going, and it's stuck, and he can't turn it off.
No, I can't turn
And
it off.
it's a little embarrassing sometimes, like, because that's how he laughs at movie theaters. Yes, just like that. So, like, you know, Iron Man will say something funny, and that's what you hear. But everyone else has stopped laughing because laughs stop at a normal time, and Casey's still going, and then you hear people around the room snickering at him. Because who laughs like that? Casey does. So Joseph... Joseph is... well, okay, so maybe you've seen the play. You haven't seen the play?
No.
All right, Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat. But people know the story a little bit, but at the same time, we haven't read it in a while, so we're trying to remember it. What do you guys remember? Once Joseph runs back into his brothers, what's the story and narrative kind of from there? What's going on?
His brothers come to him desperately because they need food.
Right, there's a famine.
They don't recognize him.
They don't recognize him. Egypt is one of the only places with food because God prepared them to have food. So they've gone to Egypt to ask for food. They don't recognize him. And then, like, the story from there kind of goes to... Do you remember any of it? It's actually longer than we often remember. It's a lot of back and forth.
They make the trip a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
So he gives them, like, something they're supposed to do for them to get food the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And they get food the first time, then they go back. But then they still need more food as the time goes on. So they make the trip back again. And at one point, I believe he withholds Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Or he, like, tells them to bring Benjamin that time. And then he keeps Benjamin under guard for when they make the trip again as, like, collateral.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the story is a lot of back and forth, and what Casey just covered is about 4 chapters worth of narrative, 3 or 4 chapters. So good news to you guys, a little bit of relief from Genesis. We're doing a lot in these 4 chapters where it's just a story. And I want to, like, zoom in a little bit here, though, because I feel like even commentaries present this a little differently than the way that I'm seeing, as well as the play, the classic play, kind of gives it a different feel. So let's just kind of walk through what Casey just said step by step. They're hungry, as Olivia said. They go to Egypt to get some food. And once they get to Egypt, Joseph recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. Which, how do you think that's possible?
He's changed a lot.
Beard, both thinner and maybe stronger. Because as the younger brother, I don't think he was, like, the beefiest of the group.
Well, he had the long robe, and the brothers were off working, and he wasn't there with them, right? So It's like he was
So he was like
Yeah.
sheltered, but probably in prison, and or when he had to work, he started probably building muscle, and then most likely grew a beard, and probably didn't have a beard when he was younger, and beards can do a lot to change a person's face.
That's
Yes.
true. I've seen Jamin without one.
Yes, they can.
So, my biggest assumption is beard and muscle.
So yeah, so people grow up and they look different over time. That'd be one
Yeah.
of it. It also seems possibly like he's assimilated to Egypt pretty well. I mean, we're actually going to see in the story that like when they eat together, like the Egyptians don't eat with the Hebrews, which is such a strange statement to me because I'm like, they dislike each other that much, or like it's considered like so wrong to do, and yet everybody's got to know that Joseph is a Hebrew, right? So, like, how much of his identity as a Hebrew has been lost if they look down on Hebrews that much? So, imagine him looking more Egyptian and wearing whatever it is that, they might have in their own culture.
And I wonder if there was like a form of like body paint that they would do that could have
Maybe.
changed his appearance as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what of, like, Prince of Egypt is real and not, but there's always I love in Prince of Egypt that, like, Moses does not appear that Hebrew, and you're like, as though, like, nobody could
tell.
Who knew that Moses was a Hebrew? Well, of course, everyone's got to know that he's, like, this can't be that undistinguishable. But then at the same time, in this story, he seems probably maybe undistinguishable. Another reason they wouldn't have noticed is Joseph uses an interpreter to speak to them. So he's not speaking their language, which of course would like play mind games with you even more. So whenever the brothers are like talking about things, he's always listening, and they don't know that he knows what they're saying. The Bible pretty much tells you that straight. Like he overheard them because he was using an interpreter. So he's paying attention to stuff that they're all chatting about. But what do you think? You run into your brothers, you recognize them, you remember these guys all decided to kill you, but then one of the brothers like, nah, let's just sell them into slavery instead. Like, you see them, in my mind, I'm just always thinking, your brothers reunited and it feels so good. But instead, oh yeah, the context of that song, I forgot, sorry. But instead, what do you think's going through his mind? Like, is he happy?
The tables have turned.
My, how the turntables have tabled. Yeah.
I guess for me, like, it's just, I don't know, I feel like when you're not recognized by people, it could be a very fun, like, experiment just to, like, leave clues to who you are, but not actually tell them who you are.
Yeah, and he almost seems to do that. Does anybody remember? These are like little details that we don't usually focus on. But like one of the times when they go away and then they come back and they have a feast together, he sets them down
In order?
in order of their birth age. and it says they all looked around in amazement. So like in their minds they're thinking
That was such a lucky guess.
well, yeah. Well, not even that, because Joseph actually, to freak them out even more so, talks about how he's got the power of divination. because at one point he plants his divination cup, which was like a Egyptian thing or whatever. He plants his Egyptian cup in Benjamin's sack, and then when he goes to find them, he's like, "You thought you could steal that? I have the power of divination," as though to say, like, "You think I didn't know through my powers that you stole my cup?" Even though clearly that wasn't supernatural. Joseph literally
planted it there.
planted it, yeah. So he's playing with them quite a bit, but not.
Pranked.
Yeah, this is the original
Episode of Punked, yeah.
Punked
Biblically punked.
BC edition. Yeah, yeah. So you see that, but like the way we're talking about it and laughing about it feels almost playful. But we got to remember, like, these guys nearly killed him, sold him into slavery, ruined his life. How playful is this really in his
And
mind?
they're like, this is the one guy that can save my entire family.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And so they're like, whatever we have to do, let's just get through this and just make sure we all live. Like,
Yep. Yeah, and here's where I would zoom in a little differently, because we usually talk about, like, Joseph, and he's testing the family and things like that. And even commentaries say that. I'm going to be honest with you. As I read through like these 4 chapters back to back, and I thought over like the themes that we've talked about. Remember, their family's severely dysfunctional, right?
So
we've got
revenge.
4 moms, 1 dad, and
Was it just 4?
yeah, there was Leah, Rachel, and then both of them had servants.
Okay.
Between all 4 of them, Benjamin's Joseph's only blood brother, and Benjamin and Joseph are the only kids that Jacob
Loves.
swoons over, right? And Jacob and Benjamin's mom is the only mom that Jacob loves, basically. So lots of dysfunction here. And now, as Olivia said, how the tables have turned, right? Just as Jacob sent Joseph out to check on his brothers, now unknowingly, Jacob sends his brothers out to check on Joseph. The Bible loves to do these little like puns over and over again. And so the first thing that Joseph does when they arrive is essentially say, you guys are spies. Like making psychological warfare, right? Like messing with their heads a little bit. They're like, no, we're not spies. Oh yeah? Well then tell me more of your story. Like, who are you? Blah, blah, blah. And they begin to like spill the beans. Well, our dad's back home. We lost 1 brother, and we have 1 other brother who didn't come with us. He's our youngest. And Joseph then like, okay, well, prove you're not spies by going back home and getting your youngest brother. Bring him back. Prove that he's real, basically, is what he's going for. And the brothers, of course, like, they know dad's just going to, like, kick the bucket if he loses another one of his favorites, right? So it's like, oh, well, rather not. So what Joseph does, essentially, you're going to prove that you're not spies. This brother right here, Simeon, well, he throws them all in jail, and then he lets them out, but keeps Simeon and says, Simeon's staying with me and seems in prison, which, interesting, Joseph was imprisoned because of what they went through. Now he's imprisoning them. and Joseph keeps Simeon and then tells the rest to go home to get their brother, bring him back. Joseph then packs their sacks with grain, which was like the common diet staple at that time. That's what they're there for. They're hungry in the famine. He packs it with grain, but then also puts all the money that they brought with them to pay for the grain. He has it put back into the sacks as well. So they don't know that. They stop along the way home, pull out some grain to feed a donkey, and they open it up, and one of them's like, my money's still here. Like, they're going to think we robbed them. You know, like, we didn't pay for it. This was a misunderstanding. Are they going to believe us? We better get home. They get home. They all open their bags like, all of our money's all here. Like, what's happened? Dad? You know, like, we
just got free stuff.
Yeah, but, like, then Dad's like, I've lost Joseph. Where's Simeon? It's like, So now they got to tell Dad about Simeon. And here's where I get confused, and I couldn't find any commentaries that even stopped to, like, comment on this. They don't go back for Simeon until they run out of food. So 11 brothers who have packed their bags full of grain, at least enough that seemed important within a famine context, I would think.
He's probably
How
fine.
long does that take?
He's probably fine. They're feeding him in jail, right?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, poor old Simeon just, hey, you guys.
Oh, they forgot about me again.
Don't bother. But, like, I don't know the amount of time. Maybe it was just a small amount. They ate and then they headed back. But
6 months later.
That's what I wonder. Like, they don't seem to, like, return until they're out of food and they need more. And then at that point, Jacob, who sent him out the first time, sends him out again. He's like, you guys got to go get more food. We need food. And they're like, we can't go without Benjamin. They're not going to let us in there. Plus the whole money thing. Will they understand that? Whatever. So Jacob, Dad, is like, okay, take all the money you had before and take money to buy more. And, like, he really doesn't want Benjamin to go. But, like, between Reuben and Judah, like, they're fighting. Like, Judah, I think, was the eldest, if I remember right. And Judah's just like, if Reuben or Judah, essentially just says, like, if we lose Benjamin, you can kill my 2 sons. It's, I think it's just like probably a figure of speech back then.
So 2 grandkids versus, 1 regular kid.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That's got to be a figure of speech.
No.
Favorite kid.
2 grandkids from a son from a wife you didn't want versus your 1 son from your 1 wife you loved.
Yeah.
It's dysfunctional. We've covered this, but even more so, it might even be like I've already lost Joseph. Now I could lose Benjamin
And Simeon.
Well, and Simeon, I
Meh.
guess it's.
Fine, whatever.
Well, he is upset about Simeon not being back, and he seems to possibly have a fear, like, are we going to get Simeon back? But he sends them out anyways. They go. They show up with the money. They've got double, and like Joseph sees them coming and sends the guard out to go get them early, and so they're freaked out, obviously. The guard brings them to Joseph's house, and they're like, we came with the money from last time. We don't know what happened. We just got home. It was there. So here's the money from last time, as well as the money from this time, as well. And Joseph's just like, calm down. All right. And then he sees Benjamin and, like, starts to lose his composure, has to leave the room, and he goes and weeps because Benjamin's clearly the only brother that he likes, right? Like,
Well, I mean, Benjamin didn't
kill
kill
him,
him.
but he's also his like flesh and actual full flesh and blood. He's his full brother, not a half brother. So it's probably like reminiscent of his mom, of his dad, and the one who didn't throw him in a pit and sell him to be a slave or plot to kill him and all that.
And their mom is dead at this point,
Yes,
right?
she's passed. So
She died giving birth to Benjamin.
Yeah.
Right.
So Joseph now sees Benjamin and starts to weep. So first thing we should say, you think Joseph sent them all home to get Benjamin just for the heck of it?
No, I think he wanted to see his brother.
Wanted to see his brother. Yeah.
And also make sure that his brother wasn't being mistreated by the brothers that mistreated him.
And I'll take it a step further in a second here with this ultimate thing I'm painting here. But we then move into, they have a feast. He places them in order of their birth age, weirding them out. And then they all eat together. And it says they all became merry, or it can also be translated
Drunk.
became intoxicated. But, English translations.
Now, here's the question. Was Simeon released from prison at this point?
Yeah, Simeon's released. So, hey, he's still here. Yeah, Joseph,
it would've been funny
Joseph wasn't so
Wait,
vindictive
there's an empty
that he
spot.
took
Where's
him out.
Simeon? Like, I could see this movie playing out.
Yeah. So then they all eat together. They have a good time, and then Joseph tells his soldiers to go and take out the grain. But I want to make sure that I'm saying this right again. I think he also tells them to put the money back a second time. So Genesis 42, they put it back, but then in Genesis,
The family discount, Egyptian style.
that actually, yeah, do a little bit here. Yeah, they complain, money, and then yes, okay. So Joseph in 44, fill the men's sacks with food as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest with his money for the grain. So he does it again. And the first time that he did it, when they come back and they're like, here's all this money, he tells them, no, you're God, I fear him, and he took care of you. So Joseph, there's still a little bit of like tenderness in some way, whether it's on God's behalf, that God chose this family, or maybe he's just sending it back home to dad, or Benjamin. But the second time, he does it again. Like he's setting them up to go home, take your money, take your grain. But put a cup in Benjamin's sack. Now, when I was younger, I always read that as like Benjamin's like, I've got an extra bone to pick with Benjamin or something. But just that's because we're not paying attention to like the whole story of Genesis, right?
No, he wants Benjamin to stay.
Yeah, that's what I see going on here. But he also put the money in everybody's sack as though like get rid of them. Like, send them back home. I don't, like, almost as like I'm wondering if this whole ploy over all this time is like, I don't want to see my brothers. I don't want them to know it's me. I don't care about them. Just
I don't want their money.
Yeah. Well, or just like, that's my like money offering, like getting rid of, I took care of my family, get them out of my life. Just give me Benjamin. Maybe I'm wrong. But this whole thing revolves around Benjamin, right?
Right.
So then they all leave, and he sends out his soldiers, pretends that it's divination. Oh, by the supernatural powers of Pharaoh, I have...
By the supernatural powers.
I know you stole my supernatural cup that tells me things. So... What, you thought you could get away with this? And they're like, we haven't stole it. It's like, okay, go through all their bags. And they go from the oldest to the youngest. Again, psychological warfare. One by one by one.
Nope.
Yeah, Joseph knows where it is. Right. And then Joseph opens it. And the guards, if it's the same guards who did this, you got to wonder if they're like, what's he doing to these guys?
Put it in there.
Yeah, we know. So they open it. There it is. And he says, they're like, no, don't take Benjamin. He's like, no, Benjamin's my servant. And that to me, again, seems like a Benjamin stays with me. Score. I did it. Like I got the one that I care about. Except for Dad. Of course, you would care about Dad too. They go back with Pharaoh and they plead. Well, sorry, with Joseph. They go back with Joseph and they plead and plead and plead. Please don't do this. Our dad will die. Like he told us, if this happened, he would go to Sheol. So please.
And kill my 2 grandkids.
Yeah, so please, which had to be an expression. You can't imagine Grandpa just being like, well, it happened, where's the grandkids? Like, it just doesn't seem logical. But
to pay up.
Oh, dear. Anyways, it's a strange story. But when Joseph watches Judah just like doing everything he can to save his family, this is the 3rd time where Joseph finally goes and just like breaks down. But this time he doesn't go in the back room to do it. This time it just happens right in front of them. And he's like, I am Joseph, you moron. No, he doesn't say that, but I am Joseph. And at that point, he gets Pharaoh's blessing to bring his entire family into Egypt, gives them the choicest of the land, the whatever you said earlier, the Egyptian discount.
The family discount.
The family discount. So they're taken care of, and they move into the land. And in the midst of all this, Joseph realizes that dream that he was given a long time ago comes true. When his family originally had come in and like bowed down before him, that was exactly the dream he was given before any of this happened.
Yeah, the one that actually pissed his brothers off so much that they tried to kill him.
Yes. And we're actually going to get... That's a weird conundrum, isn't it? We're going to get into that in our next episode. But
so wait, does that mean the dream was a self-fulfilling prophecy in some sense?
We're going to get into that in the next episode. Okay. But in the midst of this particular episode, it's just... It's strange to kind of look at it in the light in which it all happened, you know? Like, everything that actually going on. Try to put yourself in Joseph's shoes. Like he was in prison. He imprisoned his brother. Joseph was framed by Potiphar's wife. What?
If it was Joseph, wouldn't it be sandals?
Put yourself in Joseph's sandals. He was imprisoned. Now he's imprisoned his brothers. He was framed by by Potiphar's wife. Now he has framed his brother. It's like full circle is going on. He became a slave, and now he's almost turned them into slaves for what they've done.
Well, he tried to.
Yeah.
So wait, does that mean that he's kind of like telling them his life story by letting them experience parts of his life story?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen throughout Genesis there's constant callbacks and the themes that keep coming up, right? There are certain Hebrew words throughout this story that are doing callbacks to where Joseph's story started. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it could maybe be here as well. But it's just strange. Like even the brothers throughout this whole thing, they're like, this is happening to us for a reason. God is out to get us because of what we did to Joseph. Little do they know is like Joseph is right here. And little do they know is it's more like Joseph's out to get you for what you did to Joseph.
Right.
But in the end, he sees they seem changed to some extent. You know, like they're willing to go the distance to protect their family now. But at the same time, I could see an alternate story where Joseph just kept Benjamin and said, screw the rest of you. You know, like, I don't need you guys. But
So wait, is that the Bible? What if?
ooh, it will be as soon as I get $1 million to start a cartoon Disney company, which I think was DreamWorks originally. No, hang on. I feel like I need to explain that.
No, they did the Prince of Egypt
Thank
first.
you.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay. Anyways, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I said it twice. Just like the Bible, it says things twice a lot
And 3 times.
and 3 times. And Olivia will now tell you things we've told you about 212 times.
Is that how many episodes we've done?
Pretty much, yeah.
You're making that number up. Our 100th episode was only like a couple months ago.
No. We've done a
Be
lot.
sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below.
And try to beat me to the first comment.
You can't do it. I know that you can't. I double dog dare you to do it.